How's it going, everyone? Got some pretty exciting news to go over in regards to the Persona franchise going forward, and in regards to Persona 3 Reload. Obviously, Persona 3 Reload just dropped a few days ago. I personally have yet to spend a lot of time with it. I just finished up Like a Dragon Infinite. While that was a lengthy game, I personally thought I kind of rushed through the game, and my final hour tally was like 52 hours, so like even then, I felt like I rushed a little bit, but even then, it was 52 hours. Now putting more time into Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and Persona 3 Reload is in that mix as well. So just a crazy time for game release, but obviously a lot of you guys are playing the game, a lot of you guys are very excited about it, and Persona 3 is one of the most iconic JRPGs really of all time, and it's a game that people look at much like Fallout 3, where Persona 1 and 2 exist, but Persona 3 is the one that more so popularized the franchise to a lot of people. And for a lot of you guys, your first experience with the Persona franchise was, in fact, Persona 5, not even Persona 3, and having this Reload version is probably the first foray for a lot of you guys into the series. Well, if that is the case, you'll be excited to know that more Persona remakes are reportedly in the works. This is coming from the well-known Atlus insider Midori, who has recently taken to Twitter to casually mention that the Persona 2 and Persona 4 remakes both already exist at Atlus. The leaker did not elaborate on the matter, leaving the fandom to speculate on what is to come as far as that's concerned. But on top of that, you have Amahiro, another reasonably reliable leaker, has now claimed that Persona 2 project isn't a remake, but a remaster of both Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment that features new translations and quality of life improvements. It's supposedly set to arrive on every platform, including the Switch 2 and next-gen Xbox. They also verified that the Persona 4 remake is in the pipeline, but is yet to enter production and is hence years away. So this, to me, makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Persona as a franchise is something that Sega, Atlus, everybody involved in terms of business decision makers are incredibly invested into, and that makes me happy because, you know, back in the day with Persona 4 and Persona 3, when those games came out, I remember P4 on the PS2, that game had like an 8-month turnover to get it from Japan over here stateside, and Persona for a long time was always comfortably below the top tier JRPG franchise. When you look at, you know, at the time, the Final Fantasies of the world, the Kingdom Hearts of the world, those were, you know, the top tier threshold JRPGs, while Persona wasn't resonating as much. The game has obviously changed when it comes to Persona as an IP, and Atlus and Sega are trying to get as much mileage out of this franchise as they can. That's why you get things like Persona 5 Strikers and Persona 5 Tactica now, and you're getting stuff like the Persona 3 remake, and you can't do a new entry of Persona all the time. Obviously, these games are colossal undertakings, and I'm sure Persona 6 will at some point come out, but it's still probably years away. Keep in mind that Persona 4 came out in 2008, and we didn't get Persona 5 until 2017, literally 9 years in between games. We talk about, you know, the length between GTA 5 and GTA 6 being a long time. Yes, it is a long time, but the length between those releases are huge as well. Now, with Persona, you also get stuff like Persona 3 FES, you got Persona 4 Gold, and so on and so forth, but I think also now, doing remakes, doing spin-off titles, well, it's not gonna be for everyone. A Tactica is not gonna be for everyone. A Persona 5 Striker is not gonna be for everyone. But guess what? This franchise has now established a cast of characters that do have an incredibly strong fandom, and so what if a Strikers doesn't sell as well as Persona 5, the main game? A Tactica doesn't sell as much as Persona 5, the main game. Tactica, first of all, they got a healthy check from Microsoft for offering that game on Xbox Game Pass, and it's just another game to drop with characters that are beloved. If you love those characters and you want a tactics game, go play it. It's just another game to play. If you don't want to play it, no sweat off their back. You don't have to play it. Same thing with Strikers, although Strikers I thought was a really great game, so I would actually really recommend you to play that. Persona 4, on the other hand, I actually think that game does hold up pretty well, and if you go play Persona 4 Golden, like, it's still a worthwhile game to go through. But by the time the Persona 4 remake comes out, like, let's say it's 2028. I feel like 2028 is probably an early timeline for that, but let's say 2028. Well, at that point, it'll be like 15, 16 years until Persona 4 Golden has come out, which would kind of put it in line from how long it's been since Persona 3 FES came out. I want to say FES was like 2007, so like it's been like 16 years since that, so, you know, take that for what you will. And, you know, if you want to do titles that kind of bridge the gap into your mainline Persona games, doing stuff like remakes and doing stuff like spin-off titles, I think you'll get a lot of mileage out of the IP if you're trying to invest more into it, because as we know, it's not gonna happen where you're getting Persona games regularly. Persona is never gonna be a franchise where you're getting, you know, Persona 6 and Persona 7, let's say, 3 years apart from one another. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I think what you can do is get more mileage out of these games, and they already did that with stuff like FES, stuff like Persona 5 Royal, stuff like Golden. They've been doing these Bridge the Gap games, but now doing remakes as well. You're just getting more mileage out of Persona as an IP that has begun to really resonate over here in the West in terms of being one of those franchises that do very well from a commercial standpoint, and now it's available on all platforms. For a while, P5 was only on PlayStation. Now P5 is available on Switch, it's available on PC, you can play it on Xbox, it's available on all these platforms, and the games are selling very, very well. And Reload, while I don't expect it to sell incredibly well, $70 price tag, remake of a game that a lot of people played, I do foresee it doing rather well. Continuing on from that, a recent data mine spotted that Persona 3 does have an expansion pass that is listed, and it mentions it, and one of the episodes is Episode Aegis, or The Answer. This is the Persona 3 FES content that is not available in Persona 3 Reload, and then on top of that, it was noted that it would grant access to 6 portions of DLC. Again, once again, getting more mileage out of these games. You know, you can look at that and be a little bit annoyed by that, given the fact that this content was already released with Persona 3 FES. Now they're doing DLC of content that already existed. It's Sega being Sega if they do go this route. I mean, they literally just locked Like a Dragon Infinite while it's New Game Plus behind DLC. Like, yo, a lot of these publishers are gonna be doing stuff like this, so, like, just buckle up. If it annoys you, don't buy the game, don't buy the DLC, but, like, you have to accept it, and I'll call it out when I see it. But ultimately, I'm one YouTuber talking about these games. These games are still gonna sell well, people are gonna buy the DLC. I'm gonna accomplish nothing, but you guys can hear me rage from time to time when something egregious happens, like a Dragon Infinite while it's DLC structure. That's all I'm gonna say. So you're probably gonna end up getting that. They did also note that Persona 3 Reload is not gonna have a new style release. That's what I thought they were gonna do, just because I always expect the craziest things to generate the most amount of revenue. Like, what if they did a Royal style release for Persona 3 Reload, where you added in the FES content, and on top of that, how about this idea? You throw in the female protagonist as well. You telling me people wouldn't buy that? Oh, people would definitely buy that, especially if they take that protagonist female route and they implement it into the full-scale Persona experience. That would be something that I think would sell very well, and I definitely don't rule it out. I could still see Sega and Atlus coming to the table and being like, let's do this, and I think that would do incredibly well, but yeah, that's literally me just telling them how to print money. But nonetheless, Persona, at this point, as I like to say, is in fact a license to print money, and they're going to be doing a lot of that with Persona going forward. That's a good thing for sure, given where Persona was a decade and a half ago, and now to the level we're at, we're getting consistent games. We just got Tactica a couple months ago. Yes, it was a different style of Persona game, but we just got that a couple months ago. Now, we got P3R, Persona 1 and 2, potential remasters of those, and then you're also talking a potential Persona 4 remake years down the line, and then, you know, I would imagine that Persona 6 would come before the Persona 4 remake. Why do a P3 remake right into a P4 remake? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Do the P3 remake, you got that out, then do P6, then do P4 Golden remake. As far as structuring the releases of this game, these games, that's just my 2 cents. And to add to the fact of Persona 3's incredible hot streak right now, Persona 3 Reload, it was officially confirmed that shipments and digital sales have topped 1 million copies, and it's the fastest selling Atlus title ever. Now, it being the fastest selling Atlus title isn't that much of a surprise, given that this was, you know, a major Persona release, and on top of that, it appeared on every platform. You could say that P5 Tactica was on all platforms, but guys, it was P5 Tactica. Like, let's be real, it wasn't that big of a release. P3 Reload, the only platform it was missing was Nintendo Switch, and I do think that affected it a little bit, but it was on PlayStation, it was on PC, it was on Xbox, and you could also make the argument that it was hurt a little bit by the fact that it was on Xbox Game Pass, but it's still the fastest selling Persona title in history, fastest selling Atlus title in history, excuse me, and on top of that, they got a nice little check from One Microsoft for this game. I would imagine that was a very, very healthy number that they got from Microsoft, and it's a $70 game. They generated quite a lot of
revenue for this game, and I'm sure the crazy Persona fanatics bought the highest end edition that I believe was $100, and it just included some in-game items, but you know how Persona fans are, and hey, more power to you. Trust me, I've met some wild Persona fans in my day, and yeah, when they get into something, they are into it. But it looks like Persona 3 Reload is doing incredibly well, and it seems like the investment into Persona as an IP from Sega and Atlus is gonna pay off dividends quite a bit. Now, you know, you can look at the P5 Tacticas of the world, and that game has hit the bargain bin pretty quickly. I don't know how that game performed commercially, but I'm sure it did fine enough, and that was another game. They got a healthy check from Microsoft with Xbox Game Pass. You can't rely on the Game Pass check all the time, but for now, they got it with P3R, they got it with P5 Tactica, and I'm sure whatever they do next when it comes to stuff like P6, that is going to crush any sales numbers and records that Atlus have had. When they release Persona 6, that's gonna obliterate Persona 3 Reload sales numbers. I'm pretty confident in saying that, and it's gonna do so pretty easily. But that's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.